Hey, good afternoon. My name is Alex. You can feel free to call me Alex, or Miss Bateman, whichever one makes you comfortable. It's nice to meet you. How are you feeling today?
Um, Not too bad today, I guess. It's been a little rough, but today's been doable, I'll say.
Okay, that's good to hear. I saw in your intake form that you go by V. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Okay,
V works perfect.
awesome. Great. So it's great to meet you, V. I'm glad that you're here today. Um, and you said today you're feeling pretty good, but in your intake, I saw things have been not so great. Um, so how about those feelings? I'm glad you're not feeling them today, but um, how have you been feeling like over the past couple weeks, over the past couple months?
Well, my ex has broken up with me a couple months back, and I thought it'd be all right, but like it's hard, She was my first like relationship, and being pre-med, it doesn't really help that like we didn't really get much time to spend together. So she's all like, yeah, we're on different levels, different stages of life. And she just kind of broke up with me, which was bad enough. But like dealing with that and like, I don't even feel like going to school half the time, like I'm in my room more often than not. I tried to talk to my parents about it, but like they're not supportive. They're very stereotypically Indian, so they don't believe that mental health is a concern. So they just think that I'm depressed, like I am depressed, not have depression or anything. They think I'm sad, so I need to get over it. Um, haven't shown up to class in like 2 weeks. I have an exam like this Friday. Didn't really study for it, but I don't know. It's just really difficult. Like I don't have the motivation to do anything. Like it was really difficult even showing up and getting ready and like looking presentable. It's just some days I don't even want to brush my teeth. So yeah, it has been really difficult lately.
Yeah, I definitely can see and feel how that has been difficult. So you feel like you don't have, from what I'm hearing, you feel like you don't have a lot of motivation or maybe even support um, to help you gain that motivation back.
Yes, I agree with that. There's just no support. I mean, my friends used to be around. I had a couple of friends in classes, but like I haven't really talked to them since the breakup. I mean, our relationship was very like we only spent time with each other. She kind of got jealous if I didn't spend time with her. So I already had a bad enough relationship with my friends, just not talking to them. And now I just barely even like, since I don't show up to class, they barely see me. They don't even check up on me. And I kind of do feel like that's my fault for not reaching out. But no, not much in the terms of support.
So before your relationship, how did your relationship with your friends look like?
I'd say we hung out like as often as we could, at least a study session once a week for like chemistry or whatever. um, every other weekend or every weekend, if I could get a chance, we'd hang out. So it's almost as if I just got so involved in this relationship, I kind of just tossed my friends out. I feel guilty about it, but like it used to be better than this, that's for sure.
And in your relationship, things were going well, and then did it seem to just take a turn, or did you see kind of before, did you
I
have a
guess,
feeling, I guess? Sorry.
um, no, it was more like I thought things were going great. I didn't really understand what was going on because I was happy to be around. I was happy to be in a relationship. She seemed perfect. I even thought about like settling down or like doing something long term. But then all of a sudden, she kind of just said that like things weren't working out. She just told me like she said that she felt that we were just in different stages of life because she was a GSI and I just started college. So the way that she phrased it made it seem like I was just too young for her, too immature for her. And I never understood why. So it's almost as if, I don't know, I have a feeling maybe things were bad earlier on in the relationship and she just didn't say anything. But
So would it be fair to say you just felt blindsided also by? the loss of that
Absolutely.
relationship? Okay.
I absolutely felt like that. I mean, this was like during the same week as my first exams for this year. So, in combination with the fact that like I didn't know this was going to happen, all of a sudden she just broke up with me and then she cut contact with me too. We don't even talk anymore. So, we went from being really close and then all of a sudden never speaking. And then I had my exam to deal with on top of that. I didn't do good on that. I got like a C minus. And that's not for if you want to go to med school, that's the torpedo right in your side. Like that's gonna kill you. So I think that's roughly when this sort of feeling was starting, was roughly her breaking up with me. But
Okay.
but I get over it by now, but I guess not.
So a lot of your like feelings about not wanting to go to class started after that relationship ended, and that loss of motivation was after that relationship ended.
Yeah, I mean, my dad works at St. Joe's and I've kind of always wanted to follow in his footsteps. And it felt doable, but I think with that breakup, that's when I started thinking to myself, like, I don't really want to be a doctor. It just seems like it's too much for me. But that all really started when she had broken up with me. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like you have a lot going on top of this like emotional loss that you're experiencing at the same time, and that can be a lot to deal with. Um, when you start feeling like you don't have motivation or it's hard to get up in the mornings, is there like thoughts that come before those feelings, or is it kind of always you feel like that? Um, or is there like an event that sparks it, feelings that spark it?
On the days where I really don't want to get up, it's almost as if I'll wake up and before I realize what's happening, I'm fine. And then all of a sudden it hits me that like I'm single now unwillingly, and then I have all this BS with school to deal with. It's like the thought that comes up is like, why even bother? Why do I care? And then there's a lot of this feeling of like I'm not good enough. It almost because this blindsided me so much. It felt like the fact that she said we're at different stages made it feel like I wasn't good enough for her. So I think that's kind of leached onto like my academic life because I see these grades and I'm thinking like, well, my dad got straight A's when he went to university back in India. Why can't I do this? You know, I clearly I'm not good enough for this. That's what it feels like. And at that point, I just don't want to get up. If I'm not good enough to go to school and get A's, I'm not really, I feel like I'm not even good enough to go clean my face or brush my teeth. So at that point, I just sit and watch like TikToks and like that little dopamine rush helps, but it doesn't really change anything.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but what I'm kind of hearing is this relationship loss already has you feeling kind of in a low place, but the lack of support, the lack of outside acknowledgement of like how hard this loss has been makes it a little bit harder for that motivation to come or decreases your motivation along with this emotional loss.
Yeah, yeah, I guess I would say so. Cause like, I don't know, some days I'm okay, some days I'm not. And I mean, most days I'm not. And it's just like, I don't know, my life doesn't really seem like it has meaning. I mean, I haven't really thought about like put a plan about ending anything, but like at this point, like I feel like waking up every day, staying in bed and not doing anything feels pointless. Going to class and then not being able to stay present and then failing exams just seems pointless. So yeah, it's did start with that breakup, but like I feel like it almost feels like my life's always been this way, you know? I just have always had this and it kind of just unleashed after this. So I don't know. It has been really rough, I guess. And I came here because I wanted to talk to someone who understood that this was a real thing. Because I've looked it up a little bit in my classes and stuff and talked about it for the psychology classes I've taken. But, like there's also this repeated, my parents don't think it's real. So like I just feel stuck.
Yeah, definitely. And I saw on your intake that you live with your parents, correct?
Yes, it's just me and them.
Okay. Um, and when you said they aren't very supportive of you coming here, They don't really think that what like they don't believe necessarily that you're feeling these types of ways. How does that make you feel when
It's
they doubt you?
awful.
Yeah.
I mean, it's horrible. Like it's just I mean, I know that mental illness is a thing, mental health is a thing. Like I understand that. And you would think that my dad, being a doctor, would understand it too. But they think this is a waste of money. They told me before coming on, like you go downstairs, do your thing, but this is going to be a waste of money. You're not going to solve anything. And it's starting to get to me. Like it really feels like I can't solve anything. It kind of compounds things. And days when I'm in bed, my mom will come check up on me and she'll just be like, "Why are you sitting in bed? Why are you so sad? Go out and do something." Because I'm an adult, but she'll say, "Go out and go play," or something like that, you know? And I don't see what going outside just for a few minutes would help me with. And the fact that she thinks that it would be solved by me getting fresh air makes it seem like I can't even do anything about it. And it makes me feel even worse because it seems to her so easy. So
Before this time period of your life when you started feeling this way, what was your relationship like with your parents before? Or has it always kind of been the same?
they they're not very emotionally sensitive people. So emotion is not something we talk about in our family. I've never said I love you to them. They don't say I love you back. It's more just implied. So I've never talked to them about emotions or feelings. And this being the first time, it's really discouraging because I thought that they'd be more open. You know, they're both educated professional people and they have these sorts of trainings at work. I don't know why they feel like when it's their son, it's wrong. So, no, I guess historically, we've always kind of been, nothing's been bad, but that's because I've been a straight A student. I've never gotten in like any serious trouble. Um, and now they think that like they didn't agree with my girlfriend either, my ex, because they're very stereotypically Indian. They would prefer that I have married an Indian woman rather than dating an American girl who she was white. So they just didn't like that. And they don't understand dating. They were arranged back in India. So the concept of they think everything started with me dating this white woman. And because of that, that's why now I have depression and that's why everything. So before that, we weren't really on the greatest of terms, but now it's almost as if they think that I'm bullshitting them for attention because I can't get it from my ex, which makes me feel even worse.
Yeah, that's super understandable. You're already feeling in this kind of low place, but them not understanding can make it even harder for you to get better and feel motivated. Yeah. Um, so on a scale of 1 to 10, one being like this isn't important, there's other things that I want to talk about, not really like that pressing, and 10 being this is really important, it's what I really want to focus on. Would you say, how would you rank like gaining your motivation back on that scale?
10, that's the biggest thing I want back is being able to whatever it takes. You know, if I can find some way to get that motivation back, that'd be awesome. That's really, I mean, I know there's a lot of stuff to work on, but I feel like that's my number one priority.
Okay, that's good to know. And definitely like a goal if you want to continue working together that we can set up as like a goal we reach for in the future. Um, so in terms of like hobbies or just things you like to do for fun, what's something that like makes you happy or you like to do for fun just for you?
I mean, honestly, when I think about hobbies now, it feels like nothing makes me happy, but I used to play guitar and it used to be fun. I mean, I'd play for my ex and she'd like it, but now it kind of just reminds me of her. So, I mean, that used to be one of those things. I used to play video games, but then my parents saw that my exam grades were bad. They took it and they confiscated it. So I don't really have anything else. Sometimes I'll watch TV, I guess.
Have you tried to play guitar since, or you feel it would be too hurtful right now, but maybe in the future?
I connect with my family through music. So I guess it would be something I could try. I mean, it is painful, I think, because I connect it to my ex, but I mean, my family comes from, I come from a line of musicians, so I guess I'd be willing to try it again. I mean, there's nothing wrong with playing a little music or even listening to some, so
Yeah, and if it's a way that you connect to your family, it could be helpful in terms of maybe them understanding you a little bit. Have you talked to your parents about the way that you feel, or it's kind of you don't feel like it would be helpful?
I have talked to them a couple of times, but it just gets worse and worse every time because I started off trying to explain how I felt, and my dad was like, "Oh, you'll get over it, no big deal." I come back again and say I might need some counseling, and they're like, "No, it's not a big deal. You don't need it." And I finally convinced them, they still think it's not a big deal. So it's difficult. I mean, I would say so.
Yeah, definitely. I can see it being difficult being in an environment where you don't feel supported by your decisions. I can definitely see that. Um, in terms of like your hope for the future, do you see your relationship with your parents like being a part of that process of getting better? Um, is that like kind of one of your hopes, maybe?
Yes, I personally, I'd like it to get better. I don't really know how easy that would be, but yes, that would be one of my overarching goals. Yeah.
Okay. Um, and in terms of relationships, you said this was kind of your first relationship that you had been in, right?
Yes.
Okay. Um, so a lot of your feelings, I'm sure, are just confusion, maybe, too, of like what happened, why did this happen?
Yeah, there's a lot of it's like confusion and a little bit of betrayal because it felt like it was so sudden. But there's a lot of confusion there, definitely.
Have you been able to talk to your ex since, or was it more of a clean cut?
She kind of just took me off of everything, blocked me on Instagram, took me off Snapchat, blocked my number. So I can't contact her, but I mean, we're both at the LSNA building pretty often, so I sometimes see her around, but she kind of just avoids me. So I haven't ever purposely ran into her. So I don't know if talking to her would actually like I don't know if she'd be open to me talking to her. So
Hmm. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think also maybe that lack of communication and the clean break can make it harder to move on sometimes without that clear understanding of the reason that things ended.
yeah, no, I feel the same way. I mean, all she said was I wasn't right for her, and then she kind of just ghosted me. I mean, I called her a couple times, no response, and at that point, she blocked me. So I think not being able to I wish I could have some closure here, but like, I guess the best thing for me, I mean, moving forward with our sessions would be to find a way to move past this on my own.
Okay. Sorry, if you see me looking down, I'm just jotting down some quick notes for like my timeline of things, but if that makes you uncomfortable, feel free to let me know.
Well, that's okay.
Thank you. Um, so when it comes to school, you said that you've been having trouble going to classes, you have a test next week, you haven't really prepared for before, so like last year in school, would you say you've always been very on top of things? That's been like you have enjoyed school even, you would say?
Honestly, yeah. I mean, I'm a big nerd, so getting into these more harder like chemistry classes and biochem are fun to me. So, yeah, I enjoyed it and I did really well in my past couple of classes. Even during our relationship, because my ex was a GSI, she was pretty insistent that I kept studying. Um, so I did really good back then and I did like it, but it almost feels like kind of like looking at something that used to be colorful and now it's black and white. I see the same material and it's just not interesting to me anymore. It doesn't really matter what it is or what part of the body we're studying or whatever. It just seems like a bunch of work to me, you know?
Hmm. Yeah. When you feel like these feelings, do you feel them in a certain part of your body or in your head, or is there like a certain location or I guess type of feeling that you feel?
It's it's like a it's like my stomach drops and there's a little bit of tightness in my chest. Um, and that normally, like that feeling of my stomach dropping happens every single time I think of an assignment or even think about school in general. Like when we mentioned the exam, my stomach drops. When I think about missing classes, like I feel like a tightness in my chest almost. Um, there was one time where I walked up to the building and I just like last minute thought to myself, you know what, this isn't worth it. And I just walked back to my car and drove home. Um, and then just spent the rest of the day like in bed. So physically it feels more like a tightness in the chest and like my stomach dropping. Yeah.
Okay. Um, so you said you went up to the building and then ended up leaving. When you were at the building, your stomach was tight, kind of the feeling that you were explaining. Okay. Um,
Yeah. It was like that. Yeah.
and did you have a test or it was just a normal class day?
It was just a regular lecture day. This wasn't the same day as that exam I took. This was a couple of weeks after that. So I knew that I wasn't doing well, and I kept telling myself like, you got to show up to classes, you got to stay present and work harder. And I don't know, like I walked up and I was just thinking to I was my brain was like my thoughts were rushing, you know, like I thought about like, well, what if the professor's judging me? What if the students realize that I wasn't there all this time? What if I ask a question and it was answered 2 lectures ago? There's a bunch of what ifs running through my head, and then finally I just thought like, I can get rid of this feeling by just not going, and I did. I just didn't show up. Um, I felt worse about it like for like an hour, but I don't know. It kind of just becomes background noise after a little while.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Showing up somewhere, being unsure of what's going on, what you're walking into can definitely be scary. And especially with everything else that you have like going on in your head and like your feelings. Um, and that definitely makes sense that it would be hard to enter the building and stay focused in class. Um, so when you're thinking about this, have any of your friends from class reached out or asked anything about your relationship or your classes, maybe giving you some work when you've missed classes, let you know what's going on?
They they used to. Some of them, there was a couple of people that I was talking to that would reach out. But not most of them didn't really like I do have a best friend that I haven't talked to in a while, and he asked about the relationship, and he's been texting me every now and then. But my classmates, when I first broke up, or when she first broke up with me, would try to keep me updated, and I kind of just stopped responding, and then they stopped updating me. So
Mhm.
I feel a little bit more like that's my fault because I didn't really stay connected to them. And I honestly, that's another reason why I didn't want to show up to class. I feel guilty. Like I feel like they're gonna judge me for not responding or anything. So there's this really big like fear of judgment that I have, especially from the professor even, who I know probably doesn't care. It's a 90 kid lecture, but from classmates too. So
Yeah, and that totally makes sense. It's like your friends from before, and you would want everything to be the same, and you're kind of maybe worried things are different than they were before.
yeah, it really feels like that now. It's almost like this one event changed everything. I feel different. I mean, sometimes I look in the mirror and it seems like I even look different. And I just a lot of guilt around it too. Like I feel like, what if I did something different in the relationship? What if I kept my friends around? And there's just it's a lot of uncertainty too.
Yeah. Um, so in terms of class and that kind of thing, have any of your professors maybe reached out and asked about missing class or assignments, anything?
No, in my experience, STEM professors don't really give a shit. I mean, most of my classes are like anywhere between 60 to 90 people. So attendance isn't mandatory. They don't count attendance. Um, and they won't check in on you because I guess they're just too busy. I don't know. But no, I have not had a single professor email me or check up or anything.
And this best friend that you said you had talked to a little bit about your relationship, but you haven't been talking as of recent, correct? Okay.
Yeah,
Um, sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say we used to be really close, but like I said with the relationship, we kind of just stopped talking. I mean, he does check up on me now that he knows that we're not together anymore and that like it was a serious breakup. But like, I don't know, it's just hard to put the energy into talking to him. I know he cares, but that adds to my guilt. Like I feel bad not responding or anything.
Do you think that reaching out to him is something that you are interested in?
I think as hard as it would be, yes, because I don't really have anyone else to talk to. And part of the reason why I wanted to go to therapy was to have someone to talk to. And I think that, you know, even with my family, I don't even know how often I could go to sessions. I feel like if I could talk to my friend about it, he might not be a therapist, but at least he's someone I can get things off my chest to. So yes, that is something I'd like to do.
Yeah, I think it would be really um good for you when you're not in sessions to have someone that you know you can go to for support if you're feeling really unmotivated or in a really low point, especially since we had said that your parents don't really understand the way that you're feeling right now.
Yeah.
Um, do you think you're, you said you feel guilty, so do you feel like you're not wanting to reach out because of the guilt or because of something else?
It's almost like it gets like I might not respond to him once and then I feel guilty about that. And a couple days later I feel even worse because I took too long. And at that point, I'm just like, you know what? With all this guilt, I probably like he's probably gonna hate me. So it's this fear of like it's the guilt and the fear of judgment. I'm just worried about like what he's gonna think because I haven't been around for so long.
And previous to this time period, were you close to this friend, would talk openly about the way you feel, that kind of thing?
Yeah, actually, the way that my friendships have worked, since my parents aren't very emotionally responsive, I've normally just talked to my friends about it. You know, if I'm feeling a certain way, they usually validate it as much as they can. So there hasn't really been much in my life that I've struggled with, but when we've had like figuring out where to go to college and stuff and being worried about that, I could talk to him about it. So yeah, we used to be like that. And ever since the relationship, we haven't been.
Gotcha. Um, so the guilt, sorry, the timer popped up on my, our session will be ending very soon. Um, so I have really, I feel like you have a lot of strengths. You seem to very much understand like what needs to be done and what you want, which is really great. Like you know where you want to go from here and you have goals to reach, which is really great. Um, and I think including this friend in your process can be really helpful in you gaining that motivation back, or I would just be interested to see how you feel after that friend has been contacted. Um, in terms of any other goals that you want to set, I have gaining motivation back on there. Maybe shedding some of that guilt is another one that I wrote down. Is there any other goals that you can think of?
Honestly, no. The motivation, and now that we're talking about it, the guilt, those are like the two biggest things that prevent me from doing anything. So, yeah, I don't really have anything else that I would think.
Okay. And that guilt that you feel, is it similar to the tightness that you felt in your stomach, or is it a different feeling?
It's the same. Yeah, it feels like almost exactly the same. It's that same like tightness that I feel.
Hmm. And when you feel that way, you said you kind of just want to lay in bed. There's not really any other.
I mean, laying in it's almost like it gets rid of the feeling if I'm just sitting in bed, you know.
Mhm.
It doesn't really feel, I haven't really done anything else for besides going to school or avoiding school, I guess. So I don't really know what else would help.
And you said you used to like to play guitar. Um, that's a way that you connect with your family. And is there any other like instruments that you like to play besides guitar?
No, guitar is the only one. I mean, I tried getting into photography because my ex was interested in it, and I have the camera and all the film and everything, but like that's something we did together. So I like photography, but I'm just the feelings that come up. There's a lot of guilt there too. You know, like I feel like I'm taking her hobby, but I don't know. That could be something else down the line, maybe.
Yeah. So, okay, you really enjoy photography, but kind of feel like it might be stepping on like the past of something you used to do with your ex.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I would say that.
Okay. Um, but you said you have all the materials and everything that you would need to do that.
Yeah, we went thrifting and bought a camera and just got some film. So still have it because I haven't touched it since we broke up. So
Hmm. And you said that would be something you liked it. So it would be something you would be interested in maybe in the future and getting back into.
yeah, if the feelings subside a little bit, I think it'd be easier. But yeah, that is something I'd like to try in the future.
Um, some one more thing I was gonna ask you about your schoolwork. So you used to really enjoy schoolwork. You were really into it. You liked the coursework that you were studying. Now it's kind of the opposite of you don't feel like motivated or enjoy it. I liked the analogy that you used of it's like a colored picture now black and white. Um, is there any part of your assignments that that color kind of can slip through, or a particular like course objective that you like feel more drawn to, or is it all around kind of no color?
Well, I mean, I do like the subjects. I mean, at the end of the day, regardless of how I did on the exams or whether or not I'm showing up, I'm taking biochem and I like learning about like our metabolism and stuff like that. It's cool to me, being able to combine like the chemicals and the molecules with processes that go on or whatever. I still like the material. I mean, even when we were doing Gen Chem, I still kind of liked learning about stuff. So I guess when it comes down to it, the subject matter is still interesting to me. It just doesn't really feel as interesting, I guess, anymore.
Okay. So you're still interested, it's just not the same, maybe as it used to be. Okay.
Yes, yeah.
And in terms of your relationship with your parents, is there any goals that you want to set in that realm? Like maybe talking to them more, um, or maybe leaving them out of it for a little bit? Um, any,
Uh, I think I think the best thing to do while we're starting out would just not be to include them, because they're not going to understand what we're doing. And what they do understand is that it's BS. So maybe in the future, like once we start like going down the line and working a little bit on my motivation and everything, I think that's something that I'd be interested in. But that might take a lot of working through, maybe something a couple months down the line.
Okay. So including parents later on. That sounds good. So we are almost out of time, and I wanted to run through our goals one more time and talk about maybe a little bit of a safety plan for the feelings that you've been having, or ways that you can change those feelings if you're feeling really down. So, just to run through our goals really quickly and correct me if any of them are not the way that you would like them. So, finding motivation is one of them. Um, kind of shedding that guilt and fear that you feel in like not responding to your friends or not doing your schoolwork. And then later on down the line, maybe including parents if we get to that point.
Yeah, those sound good to me.
Okay. So the last thing I wanted to talk to you about before our session ends is just setting up some like maybe alternatives when you start feeling down. So we talked about you playing the guitar. Is that something you would be interested in doing if you're feeling in a low place, trying out?
Yeah, I mean, what I've been doing hasn't really been working. I'm open to trying new things.
Okay. So playing guitar. Is there any other ideas you have for maybe small things that could bring you joy, even if it's just something really small?
Well, I mean, I used to like going for walks. I mean, it's been hard to get the motivation to even get out of bed, but walking around my neighborhood was always nice. People here are nice. They'll always be waving to you, very hospitable. So maybe going for walks even, or going to a park, getting out in nature.
Okay, nature is a great nature can be very healing at the same time as very calming, so that could be a good idea. Um, is inviting your friend to come maybe to a park something you would be interested in?
Yeah, yeah, I think he's pretty free. I mean, I think I could do that. He'd like that too.
Okay. Um, so let's set that as some of our goals for next session to try those when you're feeling in a low place. And if that is all, I'm worried this is going to end on me, but I had a great time meeting with you. And if you would like to continue working together, that's definitely something um, that we can do. So,
Yeah, I think so too. I think we could do some good work. I feel like we're on a good level. I think that yeah, I think this is something I'd like to continue doing.
well, great. It was so great to meet you, V, and I hope that you have a good rest of your week. And I will see you next week.
Thanks, you too. Take care.